In 1967, Hollywood actress Jayne Mansfield was a front seat passenger in a 1966 Buick Electra that was driving on a dark road headed towards New Orleans. The roadway was obscured, and the driver of Mansfield's car failed to observe that a tractor trailer ahead of him was driving very slowly. Mansfield's car slammed into the back of the trailer and slid underneath the trailer. The crash was horrific, and Mansfield was killed instantly. This crash was particularly bad because the first part of the car to impact the truck was the windshield, and there were no safety devices that prevented the car from going under the trailer and impacting Mansfield and the two other front seat passengers. It took some time, but as a result of this crash, the federal government eventually required trailers to have what are called rear guards. Here's a picture of one. These guards recognize that crashes into the back of a trailer are foreseeable. The guards provide a barrier that prevents the car from sliding under the trailer when a crash occurs. And this at least gives the possibility that a crash with the trailer is not a devastating event like it was with Jayne Mansfield. Hi, I'm attorney Bob Byrne, and I want to talk a little bit about side underride crashes that still happen today and claim approximately 200 lives every year. Although trailers now have rear guards,
side underride guards are not required by law.
And just like with the case involving Jayne Mansfield, these side underride crashes can be very devastating. The Insurance Institute for Highway Safety has some videos that show exactly how these crashes can be so deadly. And here's a video that was done by the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety that shows some tests that were done on side underride crashes. You'll see in a couple of different tests that were done, they used a 2010 Chevy Malibu in both of the crashes. You'll see in this first video that there is a crash into the side of a trailer. You can see with this crash that the only thing that stopped the car was the crumpling of the roof of the passenger compartment. And the vehicle is pushed all the way down to the ground. So it's as low as it can possibly be, and much lower than any vehicle is going to be when it's traveling. And so everything basically from the top of the doors up was, at least for that front seat, was destroyed. And you can kind of see as we continue to watch how that plays out. See, nothing prevents. First thing to hit is the windshield and then the driver's face. Here's another angle, and you can see again, first thing to hit is the windshield, and the crash is violent enough that the entire front end of the vehicle is lifted off the ground. You can see the bending in the frame underneath. And so the vehicle is being stopped by its roof in that situation. Here's another angle from inside the vehicle, and you can see how it is the driver's head that takes the bulk of the impact, and there's nothing that protects the driver's head in this situation. And that's why these crashes can oftentimes result in catastrophic decapitations. And you can see there that all of the vehicle's safety mechanisms are bypassed. The airbag didn't even go off in that situation because the airbag sensors essentially shot underneath the vehicle and weren't really damaged in the crash. So a big question that always arises with these types of cases is, how can they occur in the first place? You've got these massive trucks with these massive trailers, and the trailers are supposed to have all of this reflective tape on them and warnings, so cars should see them from a long distance away. Well, what's important to remember is that a lot of these underride crashes happen at night. And when it's at night, there's a couple of different factors that are at play. A driver of a vehicle is not necessarily keeping their eyes out for a trailer blocking their path if they're on, say, a highway that is pretty desolate or if there's not much lighting. And then we know that there does take time for perception and reaction. And so once someone sees it, it may be the case that it's too late to properly react. Even though these trailers have reflective tape on them that are supposed to reflect lights of oncoming vehicles, the reality is that they don't necessarily provide the optimal reflection unless a car is approaching at a perfect angle. You can see how it could be the case that a trailer that is unexpectedly blocking a highway can cause a deadly crash. So these crashes can typically occur when a truck driver makes an improper U-turn. A U-turn in the trucking industry is a very dangerous event, and it's something that there are warnings everywhere telling drivers to avoid U-turns. Many companies recognize how dangerous U-turns can be as well, and they advise their drivers don't make a U-turn. Instead, go to a place where you can drive in, circle around to turn around and come back. But there could be a situation where a driver nevertheless attempts to make a U-turn in a tractor trailer. And in that situation, that is a perfect recipe for how an underride crash can occur. Underride crashes can also occur when there is, say, an intersection and a truck has the ability to turn, but there's still oncoming traffic, and the truck is going slow and then it's pulling across traffic, and it may be the case that oncoming motorists don't see it in time to be able to react. You could also have a situation where a tractor trailer crashes or jackknifes and the trailer is blocking oncoming traffic. So that raises the question, is it possible to avoid or to minimize side underride crashes? Just like with rear underride guards, some companies have designed side underride guards. And testing videos from the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety show that these underride guards can have a dramatic impact on preventing the devastating results of a side underride crash. Now let's take a look at these same type of crashes, also involving a 2010 Chevy Malibu. In these crashes, the trailer is equipped with side underride guards. And so let's see how this fares compared to the first crash that we looked at. So you can see with this crash, the very first thing to make impact is the front engine compartment. When that happens, you can see that the front engine compartment crumples. And that's because cars have crumple zones that are designed to dissipate a lot of the forces from a crash. You can see also that the airbag deployed here. You can see that the driver's seatbelt would help also prevent, just a violent tossing around in the vehicle. And so all of these safety devices were in use, were in force, and would have prevented terrible, terrible injuries in this situation. This could be a case where somebody could actually walk away from this particular crash, even though everything is exactly the same, all the factors are the same. The only difference is now you have the side underride guards. Let's look at the head in this situation. There, you've got a drastically different situation. The airbag deploys. There's no entry of the trailer or anything else into the passenger compartment at all. Now let's take a look at one more view, which has a top and bottom comparison. The top has the side underride guards. The bottom does not. And look at the two vehicles, the comparison. You can see a massive difference. The amount of damage between these two crashes is stunning. And what's good is that these side underride guards can be installed basically on any trailer, but they can also be retrofitted to any trailer that's on the road today. And the cost for installing these is relatively modest. Estimates are approximately $3,500 per trailer. But the trucking industry has opposed mandatory installation. They think that the data doesn't show that these products are as safe as everyone thinks. So the trucking industry claims this is not a perfect fix. But let's just talk real quickly about the legal claims. Is there a case when there's an underride crash and someone is terribly hurt or even killed as a result of that? There could be a couple of different parties at fault. First, if a truck driver or the motor carrier allows for a truck to make a U-turn in an area where it's completely unsafe to do so, which is going to be pretty much every area, then they can be responsible if you are driving and blocking traffic and blocking oncoming vehicles. You're placing them at risk for exactly this type of crash. A second defendant could be the trailer manufacturer under a product liability theory of recovery. And so basically the theory is going to be that they've manufactured a product that is dangerous. It is defective because there are safer alternatives available, but they nevertheless chose to put an unsafe product on the market. A third potential defendant could be road contractors who are doing work and essentially create conditions that necessitate a truck that's pulling a trailer to have to do a U-turn. There could be other situations, but these are probably going to be the most common claims that you'll see in an underride crash scenario. If you or a family member has somehow been involved in one of these crashes, it's important to look into whether you have a claim, not just for your benefit. The lawsuit can not only just bring awareness to the public about this problem, a lawsuit can help bring about change. It can show the company that this is something that a group of jurors says, this is unacceptable. We want to make clear to this company that they have created a dangerous product, that people have unnecessarily died as a result of crashes in this type of situation. We want to make sure that this does not continue to happen. And I'm always pushing for the roads to be safer, and if there are side underride guards, lives will be saved. So if you have questions about an underride crash in general, or specifically because you were involved in one or you're an attorney who's handling one, please feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to talk and give you my thoughts and see if there's any way that I can help. But thanks so much for watching this video. I do appreciate it. I hope you stay tuned for more. Thank you.